Welcome to the Mom and podcast. We're your hosts, Suzanne Kearns
and Missy Stevens. We want to help you through everything that happens in the ellipses, from your professional life to your emotional health.
You're a mom and so much more. Let's figure out what comes next together. Welcome to the Mom and podcast. I'm Suzanne Kearns, mom and writer, LGBTQ and sex ed advocate. And today I am on a tired wave of happiness. Last night was Caring Hope's annual gala and auction. And we will actually put a link in the show notes to the episode we did with Kristen Finan about Caring Hope and all the things that they do for foster kiddos in Texas. And oh my gosh, it's just an emotional roller coaster of highs and just like heart tugging. So it was really amazing, but I stayed up past my bedtime. And so I'm still functioning today though.
I get it. And I'm Missy Stevens, mom and writer, foster child advocate. And this week I'm just a girl standing in front of my life, trying to remember what I do after a vacation. I'm 4 days into real life and I'm slowly getting it back together.
They need to stop doing that time change during spring break. That's just not cool. It's not cool. And today we are so excited to be chatting with Addie Swartz. A serial entrepreneur, Addie created ReacHIRE to build a systematic pathway for exceptional women to get back into the workforce. Prior to ReacHIRE, she founded 2 companies at the intersection of media, technology, and education. Addie started her career at Bain & Company, and she has been featured on the Wall Street Journal, Working Woman Magazine, Child Magazine, Working Mother, Good Morning America, NPR, and MSNBC. She was also named to the Inc. magazine's 2021 Female Founders list in the category Lifted Other Women Up. Oh my God, is there anything better? That's what we're all about here. And Addie is a graduate of Stanford University and received an MBA from Northwestern University Kellogg School of Management. She also is the proud mom of 2 daughters. Welcome. We're so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. And I'm really excited to chat with you guys today.
Well, and we talked a little bit about your bio, but could you give us a little bit of a 101 about some of those companies you started and all the things that got you to where you are today?
Well, if you boil it down, my career trajectory has really followed every step in the way of my personal journey as a professional, as a mom, trying to fit it all in at each different stage of the game. So, I started in big corporate America with Bain and Disney and Reebok. And then I found myself at a company called Lotus Development, and I had my first daughter. And suddenly I was on maternity leave. Like probably a lot of your listeners. Oh my gosh, now I have a child. Now I'm a mother. And, your whole sphere of the world changes.
Yep.
And realize that there were a lot of people that looked just like me that suddenly were at home that may have wanted to look for something flexible and alternative while they were still being at home and stay-at-home mom for some time. And in those days, this is a few years ago, the childcare options were very limited, super, super expensive. They're still expensive today, but there's many more of them. And I felt that, moms needed opportunities to do something flexible and part-time, keep their skills up, and also do something beneficial. And so my first company I started was on maternity leave. Not that I would ever thought a company on maternity leave. That company was called Bright Idea. And so that was all about offering moms an alternative that wanted to keep their skills up, especially their tech skills up, and at the same time be a force for good in their community. And so Bright Idea sold educational software to schools, parents, and teachers. And in those days, there wasn't a lot of options. There was no internet, which sounds like dinosauric.
I know.
But the idea was to create an avenue and an opportunity for women that they could earn some money, keep their skills up, and be flexible. And that was in the early 90s, well before people were talking in a meaningful way about career breaks. So I've kind of been at this for 3 decades. And then fast forward to ReacHIRE, which I started 10 years ago, really was seeing that same problem that women were sidelined, either because of family, taking care of elder parents, maybe health. A lot of people I know have taken breaks because of breast cancer or other things, or just because they want to travel around the world, which the new Gen Zs want to do. Take breaks. And,
why didn't I think of that one?
Oh, I know.
Yeah. work and not work and mix it all up, etc. And so I found too many women were sitting on the sidelines. They'd invested a lot in their professional careers. They'd invested a lot in their education. And many of them also needed and or wanted some combination, depending on the person and their situation, to get back into a professional situation, both from an economic, financial standpoint, as well as for personal standpoint, to have something that was their own, that they could say they were using all their skills and putting it to work and having impact in a way that also would give them some financial success. So Bright Ideas was sort of the precursor to ReacHIRE. And I've been on this mission to really concretely help women from all walks of life, from all different industries, no matter how long their break is, to get back into a professional situation where they can stand on their own feet economically and succeed, leveraging past skills and then layering on top current skills.
I mean, I already have butterflies. I always get butterflies at some point in every recording. I already have them. It's amazing what you're doing. And we really love that you trademarked the phrase, we believe a career break should not be a career breaker. We would steal it if you hadn't trademarked it because it's so good. You talk about that you had an unexpected break and you met all these women facing challenges. What are kind of the obstacles that you notice around that time? And are they the same thing you're encountering today? Have things changed?
Yeah, I have to say, I don't think things have changed. Not really. I mean, childcare is still expensive. There are definitely more options and it's more secure than it was when I had my first daughter, who's now 31. So, the world is different. The internet's different. The ability to actually meet with people all over the world via Zoom is so different than it used to be. You just never had that capability. But career breaks are here. They're here to stay. They're not going away. The pandemic showed how critical childcare is and schooling and after school programs are, and that, we can't do everything all at once, all at the same time, ever. And, I think women are great multitaskers, but it's just not possible. Also, we have different goals and different values about how we want to show up as a person, how we want to show up as a parent, how we want to show up as a professional at different times. But the key obstacles that I see happening over and over again is the need for flexibility, lack of opportunities, people getting boxed out just because they've had some time off. There's a break in their resume. What do we do about it? How do you talk about it? Especially technology is moving so fast. And even if you've had a break that's just a couple of years, there's lots of new tools that are out there that you have to know how to do in order to do a job. So I think that, there's a fear of outdated skills, and all of us continue to need to keep every day learning because I feel like technology keeps changing on us. Zoom updates and we're frozen out for a while.
I know.
I think the only other thing I'll say is lack of confidence. So, I feel like for women, and I was actually talking about this earlier in a recent interview about the psychology around identity and women and what happens when you become a mother or a parent, right? You're all about helping that child become the best that they could be. And if you were working before and you're suddenly at home, I remember suddenly being a stay-at-home mom after my first company and driving a minivan and me being, Mrs. Rosen versus Addie Swartz. Who are you? How are you showing up and how do you feel? So that lack of confidence, not in who you are, but can you contribute and what can you contribute?
Yeah.
So I feel like those are the four things: flexibility, opportunities, making sure your skills aren't outdated, and lack of confidence that are really holding women back.
And so I know that when a woman is truly looking at getting back into the workforce, ReacHIRE is such a great resource to have to help them do that. For maybe some listeners who are early on, where they're maybe just started their road as a stay-at-home mom and are trying to figure out how not to get that big gap or how not to lose some of those skills or how not to have that crisis of confidence. Are there some things that you recommend that they just sprinkle throughout their week or their day to keep themselves the smart woman that they are and not fall into this just a mom role?
There isn't a mom that I know that isn't involved in their community, volunteering in some
Hmm.
way with their children's school
For sure.
or larger nonprofits and helping out. I would say, continue finding opportunities to leverage the talents that you have. If you come from more of a finance background and can help with the finances of the nonprofit you're involved in, or the
Hmm.
school, or the fundraiser, build the spreadsheets, set up the meetings. We're all smart people. Our intelligence doesn't just evaporate. And just make sure that you put yourself in situations where you continue to learn. Also, today versus 10 years ago, 15 years ago, there's so many options. You can get a certificate. If you're interested in marketing, marketing has changed so much,
Hmm.
even versus 10 years ago.
Mhm.
Go to your community college, or you can get free programs online. There's so many different avenues to audit something or learn about something or volunteer to do some social media for your school. Keep your skills up and do it in a way that's natural. And I don't know one mom out there that does it, which is why
Yeah.
ReacHIRE was born. Because as I said, just because you've taken a career break doesn't mean that it should be a career breaker. You have so
Hmm.
much to offer, so much potential. And eventually, maybe not now, but at some point, you might want to find that part time job where you get paid, or you might want to go back in a more corporate role or business function
Mhm.
where you can contribute and earn a paycheck that can significantly impact your family.
And I think so much of the identity crisis is, I mean, you don't have a business card to define you anymore or what your role
Mhm.
is in the world. But part of it is society's the stigma around being a stay-at-home mom, what they see
Yes.
that as. And I feel like we almost, we're talking about how we're still intelligent women, we still have all these skills, but we almost just squeeze ourselves into this box of what society thinks of us and just let that other stuff fall aside. And I don't know whose responsibility it is to fix that. Like, how, I don't even know how we fix that. It's a big ask to ask, okay, stay at home mom, you're already feeling really vulnerable and like you're not a contributing member of society. Can you just fix all the ways that society perceives
Right.
you? Or like, and then,
Right.
or is the corporation's responsibility? And we've just kind of learned that no one seems to really give a rat's ass unless they are forced in that situation or they have a family member who's in that situation. So,
Right.
what are some of your thoughts about breaking that stigma and changing the way
Yeah.
people see stay-at-home moms?
Yeah. So I feel like the grass is always greener. I feel like if you're a working parent, you look at stay-at-home moms, you're like, oh my gosh, what do they do all day? And if you're a stay-at-home mom, you're like, oh my God, how do those people manage it all? And, they might not be there when their kid needs it. And I'll never forget when in the middle of my second startup, working lots of hours, and a really good friend of mine called and said, I saw your daughter on the playground and she was crying
Oh,
and it seemed like a huge problem. And she was 5 years old. Okay. You might want to check in with her when she comes home. So, of course, as a working mother, I'm like, oh my God, I
Mhm.
should have been there. What a bad parent I am. How
Oh,
dare I? This other person saw it was there. If I were there, I could have. Then you have all this guilt. The grass is always greener. That turns out
right.
by the time I came home and I actually had a chance to talk to my daughter, I still was feeling super guilty about it all. It's like, "Oh, yeah, Sophie and I had a problem, we worked it out, and I'm fine." And it
yep.
was, like, over. And anyway, but it didn't make me feel any better. So I feel like that we all have to be okay with where we are at the moment. And
Oh,
we can't be judging everybody else because everybody's situation is different. Everybody's needs are different. Everybody's financial situation is different.
Mhm.
Everybody is making choices or choices are being forced on, not even choice, things are being forced on them
Mhm.
to
right.
live a certain way at a moment. But I believe that we all live our life in chapters. Okay. And like there's a chapter for doing X, there's another chapter for doing Y. I have been a stay at home mom a couple different times. I have been an entrepreneur and working pedal to the metal a number of different times. I worked in corporate America as an executive and even a good little doobie, proving myself up
Mm.
as best I could a couple of different times. So, like, there's going to be another chapter that I'm going to move to as I continue to grow. And so we just all have to be okay with who we are and say, it's okay and accept other people or help other people. I actually thought it was good that my friend reached out to me and told me because it kind of let me have insight into something that I wasn't there and I couldn't be at. Did it make
Mhm.
me feel super bad about it? Yes. But what could I do? That was what I was doing at the time.
Yeah.
Right.
To answer your question about career break service, I think the pandemic has made it so that it's more acceptable to have a career break now than ever before
Mhm.
because so many millions of women were forced on the sidelines.
Yeah.
So I think companies need to do a better job of holistically looking at people, not trying to fill jobs with every single dimension of the job description.
Mhm.
We at ReacHIRE, we look holistically at people. We put them in jobs. We are a job board. We actually develop and train and coach all the way through what we view as an apprenticeship.
Mhm.
Some people call it a returnship over 6 months. So there's a lot of learning and development that can happen in not such a fast pace, not over 10 weeks or 12 weeks, but that in a longer period of time so you can get your sea legs. You can
Right.
learn and grow and do it in a way that's not so pressured, where within, 10 weeks, you have to prove that you're going to be the best performer in this job. But I think the grass always looks greener after than. And
Yes.
we all have to just take a deep breath and say, where we are for the moment is okay. How can we arm ourselves to place ourselves in a place that, should we want to, as you guys have done such an amazing job of doing a podcast, reinventing yourself, and using new tools to propel yourself to a new vision of who you are going to be, and just take those steps along the way. And you don't have to have a plan. Who's got a plan? No one's got a plan, but you do have to be opportunistic and understand that you are an amazing person. You have so much to offer, and you just need to help yourself a little bit.
I love
I love
that.
all of that. So many pillows to embroider. Every episode, we're like, we're going to put that on a pillow. I need multiple pillows so far for this episode. Let's say you're okay with where you are, but your next step is getting back in the workforce. Can we do nuts and bolts and talk a little bit about what it is ReachHIRE does and how that works? If, say, a friend of mine named
You.
Missy decided to, all right, I'm ready to go. What does that look like?
We've been doing this for 10 years. And we, as I said, aren't just a job board. We've worked with multiple corporations. We have huge success rate in getting women back into jobs that are in different industries than what they left, with new skills that they're applying. And I'd say the first step would be go to our website, reachhire.com with 1 8, and download our definitive return to work playbook. It has 5 steps to help you reignite your career. It's easy. And if you go on our website, we do have it on Amazon, but if you go on our website, you can actually unlock it for free. And it's all about, how do you renew your professional self? How do you reimagine your next career? Because whatever you left, especially if it's like 5, 10 years ago, or even 15 years ago, they're different industries
Yes.
that are out there now. We put women in biotech roles that biotech wasn't around 20 years ago.
Mhm.
So reimagine your future. How do you do that? And then core steps, Suzanne, like you were saying before, if you wanted to refresh your skills, where do you go? What do you do? How would you look for them? And then how do you rebuild your brand? How do you show up interested, excited, knowledgeable, and somebody that somebody would want to hire? And then how do you get that bolster of confidence? So I feel like that return to work playbook could be really helpful to anyone, no matter if you want to
Yes.
transition to a nonprofit, go back in corporate America, get a small job, a medium job, a large job, who knows what.
And it's so exciting that
I
it's out there.
know.
Have you had to train companies to be willing to accept the people you're putting forth, or are they open to it?
It depends on the organization. The focus of corporations now is on diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. And so corporations focus on ESG initiatives, is allowing for a little bit more openness. I would say that the pandemic helped in understanding, wow, if you kind of got sidelined because of the pandemic and you have a break, you still might be able to be a productive citizen. But we at ReachHIRE, we can only get more women back into the workforce if corporations partner with us and create the jobs and the opportunities. Because it's not enough just to do a training course. It's really more about creating that on the job learning and training and working with a manager in an industry, in a corporation to do that. So some companies are more open. We've been working with Fidelity for 10 years. For
That's
10
awesome.
years. Their managers have seen the power of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of women that have come back through us, through our training, support, our program that lasts 6 months, where the women connect with each other, learn and grow, and actually leave feeling like it's the best decision they ever made in their lives when they first sign up and they're like, what did I sign myself up for?
Right.
Mm-hmm. And is there a particular industry that you're more trained towards? I know that for a lot of the job boards that are designed for relaunchers or moms going back to work, there's usually a lot of tech. But
Mhm.
you mentioned before that you work with women from across all different industries and all different backgrounds. So, if someone was a nurse before or in advertising before or police work, I don't know, firefighter, like, is there a particular industry that, 80% of the jobs really are for that people should be thinking towards?
So I would say that what ReacHIRE is really good at is looking at individuals, understanding their transferable skills,
Mhm.
and positioning them strongly to new industries and new companies. I think that in a world where people and managers and companies might be a little more reticent to hire a returner per se, it's easier to sort of say, oh, we have this tech job that's not filled, we could fill it with a returner. Because by the way, it's hard to find women technology folks, and we want that diversity. And
Mhm.
that's easier to offer that kind of a job. We offer jobs across the spectrum. We not only bring women back in groups, but we also, depending on the person, will bring somebody in an individual role back into an organization. So if somebody's willing to go back into the workforce, whether or not there's a job that's listed on our site or any other, what we're really good at is identifying transferable skills and saying, hey, we have this job over here. We think you could do it. I think nurses, they're so caring, they're so giving. And a lot of people got burnt out of being a nurse, but there are a lot of skills that could be transitioned or transferred into corporate America that they could get a great job in. We
Mhm.
actually have seen examples of baristas who have actually gone into project management with a tech flair, even though they didn't have that background, but are willing to sort of learn on the job because they have an open growth mindset.
Mhm.
And because they have grown up in a technology savvy environment like all of
Right.
us are in now. So
Yeah.
I would say that we shouldn't think about it as there's a job opening. I should apply for that. If my skills don't fit, I have to give it up and never go back to work. At ReachHire, that's not the way we do it. A normal job board, yes, but not us. So if anybody's interested and wants to think about it, please come to us. Please take advantage of the free book and think about your skills in a broader way, especially if you don't necessarily want to go back into that industry.
Right.
Mhm.
I
And
like it's
yeah.
so encouraging to me because I have always, since I've been a stay-at-home mom, which has pretty much been the whole time I've had kids, I thought, what do I do next? Because what can I do? And that's just so encouraging to hear you say, I can probably do a lot of things. And there are
Mhm.
people to help me look at my skill set and my mindset and figure out where I could fit. It's kind of exciting.
Yeah.
Missy, on that point, we have free webinars that we do. We do them monthly. We have live events that you can go to that you can learn about different jobs and different skills and get a chance to meet our recruiters who really aren't your normal recruiter. They're, in fact, one of them is a stay at home mom who just came back into the workforce.
That's awesome.
So, really understanding where you come from and where you want to go and be able to sort of talk to you about what skills that you have can be translated to new industries, new opportunities, and new jobs that you might not yourself ever have thought you could even think about doing or
Right.
never
Mhm.
even thought of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is the thing, because I know for myself, I was in a very high stress, very high number of hours a week advertising position when I left. And I knew that I could not go back to that role. It was very travel intensive, time intensive. And for me, I learned through doing this podcast, it just did not mesh with my skill set. I ran into the problem of being really good at a job that was not a good fit, and
Right.
getting accolades and feeding off of that instead of realizing like this is not what feels good.
Not for me.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, once they have that gift of a pause to actually go, okay, I've been doing this job for 15 years, but like, why? Like, why do I
Right.
keep going to the next stop of this job that makes my tummy hurt every morning? So I think that is
because there's
nice.
probably a job out there that doesn't make your stomach hurt.
Yeah. So that's nice to take a fresh look at this. I love the idea of transferable skills, and just
too.
it doesn't have to do with a particular job title. It's what you just naturally are good at.
And I think that what you're naturally good at, if you kind of look at yourself in the mirror and say, what are you good at? What do you like to do? What don't you like to do? And then think about how that could translate into different job functions. Like, if you're into building relationships with people and you have to go back to work and build an income, if you're really good at building relationships, sales is like a great career for a woman because it offers flexibility. You can make a lot of money. And it really, if you're good at it, it's because you're building relationships.
Mhm.
It's not, and I think, play to your strengths. If relationships is where it is. That's just one example
Mhm.
to just think differently and also not be a judge of things based on other people like technology. There's so many jobs in the world of technology, and you don't have to be a computer programmer to be involved. I think
Yeah.
that's a really important thing. I mean, moms do a great job of multitasking. That's what project management is. Multitasking, variety of different people, a variety of different things, all coming together at the same time. What does a mom do every day, every week, every month? Moms
Mhm.
make
Yeah.
great project managers,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and project managers pay a lot.
That's okay.
I know.
I'm
I know,
ready.
a little
I'm
light bulb
ready.
just went off in my head because
I know.
multitasking is where it's at for me. I'm good at that.
I know. I need to unmultitask a little bit of my brain.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm so excited about it. And I really encourage people to take a look at
Yes.
it's called a playbook, but it's almost more like a workbook. And I
Mhm.
feel like I don't want to call them assignments, but the 5 steps, I mean, they're deep. They're not just like, hey, fill in the blank of like what your favorite skills are. I
Right.
mean, you got to do some thinking. It's not something that you're just
Yeah.
going to sit down and do in 20 minutes. And so I actually found it most useful to I actually read through it and let it kind of percolate, and I don't know, let my brain do
That's
some
where I
working
am,
on
is
it
in the
for a
percolation
while,
step. Yeah.
and then go back and actually do some of the steps. So that's just personally how I found it the most useful. But yeah, take some time with it. It's not a Facebook quiz about what Disney princess you are. It's something where you got to do a deep dive. You got to do some thinking.
Right.
So give yourself the gift of some time to actually sit down and do it. So useful.
You
Yeah.
just go on our website and sign up. You'll get information about when our live webinars are. And, you might not be ready to go back to work now. From doing this for 10 years, I've had many people who think they're ready. They come and learn a little bit. Then they say, no, they're not quite. They want their child to be in a different spot or
Mhm.
the
That's
parent.
how I got to my daughter going to college and me being, oh, is it time? I kept on thinking when she turns 3, 3 sounds like a good age that the books say. And there's like, oh no, it'll be kindergarten. Oh no, it'll be when they go to middle school. Like, she
Yeah.
is going to college in a few months. And like, I think
When my child has their own job, maybe I'll go back to work.
I know.
Well, I will say we have placed a number of people that have had breaks in 18 and 20 years,
Nice.
and they're doing beautifully in companies that are cutting edge, really open and accepting of different people coming in at different stages. And the learning curve is big,
Yeah,
but
sure.
we don't just put somebody in a seat. We're all about driving their success. And people that end up in a permanent role, I think our data is like 95% of the people are still at the companies 2 and 3 years later.
That's
Wow.
incredible.
It's not just about getting back and having the opportunity. It's about succeeding for
Mhm.
yourself, for your family, and for the company, and bringing that great wisdom and knowledge and perspective into a company.
Oh, it's so exciting. And we're getting close on time, but I don't want to leave without talking about Aurora because that is a different piece of what you do. So, can you talk to our listeners about what the Aurora platform is?
Sure. Well, I'm so proud of Aurora. Aurora was a brainchild of mine that I came up with about 5 years ago. And it's all about helping more women that are in organizations now who are struggling to grow. And so it involves coaching, soft skill development, better navigating, and it's a tech tool called Aurora, which is a platform which has all this amazing self-directed learning and development. We have 1,200 two-minute videos from leaders all over, from all different industries, walks of life. We have 10-minute career workouts that are divided into 1 and 2 minute segments. You can do them from your phone. So there's all a bunch of that. But then companies can adopt this to help their women do a better job of navigating their careers in the company so more of them stay.
Mm.
And why that's critical is that McKinsey and the Lean In Foundation have been tracking this for quite some time, seeing that there's this broken run. Women are graduating with more undergraduate and graduate degrees than men now. More of them are coming into corporations and corporate America
Mhm.
than ever before. But at the first level of promotion, men are killing it, and they're still hands down getting more promotions than women. And so
Yeah.
if you can't fix it at the first level of promotion, you're never going to catch up at any other level. And
Mhm.
and so why is that happening? How can we help women? And the overlay here is that we leverage women that are at the next stage of their careers. Because as I said earlier, you're at different ages and stages, and there are women that have just finished their corporate career that want to pay it forward to the next generation. So those senior executive professionals become coaches to groups of women that go through the platform and through a virtual journey of learning curriculum and skills and connecting with other people and building network within the company. We're kind of creating the new, like kind of the old boys network, the new
Mhm.
Mhm.
girls network within a company. So super proud about it. It really was born out of everything we do on return to make returners successful in the companies. Such success there. How do we bottle it and port it so more women succeed? So the whole goal of ReacHIRE is all about helping women thrive and succeed professionally at whatever age and stage they're at.
Ah,
Oh my,
I love it.
I am so excited. Where were you in 2005? I know you were doing this way before that too, and I just
Yeah,
didn't.
I know. You've been around forever, and I'm so glad we now know you.
I know.
I
And
knew what I was doing in 2005. I
building a
was
company.
building the Beacon Street Girls because I had a 9-year-old daughter who was between toys and boys and was really kind of beginning to have her self-esteem get impacted by the
Mm.
Britney Spears and Paris Hilton of the
Mhm.
world. And so I created this whole media brand with 22 full-length books called the Beacon Street Girls with bags and a virtual junior high, like a safe Facebook for girls. And I really dove into confidence and what happens when a kid hits the age of 10 to their self-esteem and their confidence. And by the way, the reason women have confidence problems is it starts really early,
Yep.
Mhm.
right when their bodies start changing and they realize how the world kind of is centered. So
Yeah.
that's what I was doing in 2005. But it's
Oh,
all
I
come
love that.
together.
Between toys and boys. I've never heard it described like that, but
that better be trademarked too.
yes.
You come up with great phrases. I love it.
I just have to say that like every stage of my life, and it wasn't planned, but it all fits together as like a story, which everybody's life does become a story and it all makes sense in the end. But I had no sense in it. But I was on maternity leave and I was pretty passionate about why are all these women invested in their careers sitting on the sidelines? Can't they do something that is
Mhm.
interesting to them, that keeps their skills going, that's
Yeah.
flexible? And that started me on the journey of my first company. And then the Beacon Street Girls was all about how can you build better, more confident girls that become stronger, more confident women? And then ReachHIRE was all about how do you actually try to substantially change these breaks and get people back? Not just
Yeah.
by putting a job board out there, letting people fend for themselves, but
Mhm.
really providing the coaching and the community and the training and the job in kind of a test drive fashion. Anybody can sign up for something for 6 months, not forever. You can test it out. Your family can test it out. The company can test
Right.
it out to then see, but setting yourself up for success.
Mhm.
And now
Oh
with
my gosh.
Aurora, there's an opportunity to do like, what do the people do that just retired?
Mhm.
What are they going to do? Pay it forward and help the next generation grow and develop and succeed and have more of them. We need to have
So
50%
great.
parity in the workforce. Why don't we?
Yeah, I know. And I just love how you've dedicated your entire career to helping the whole life cycle of women and their careers
I
uh,
love it.
and using their skills throughout
Makes
their
me
lives.
happy.
And I know. Oh my gosh. Okay, I could talk about this forever. And so we could do our look, listen, learns. But first, I want to make sure everybody goes to the ReachHIRE website where they can
Mhm.
get the definitive return to work playbook, learn more about ReachHIRE, how they can use it, even if they're not planning on relaunching right away, to at least get the ball rolling and be thinking about it. So yeah, is there anywhere else that people can find you online, or is the website pretty much the best place to go for you?
We're on LinkedIn. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. Follow us on Instagram. These are all things that are free tools that are really valuable. And I feel like,
Yeah.
you guys have done such a great job of talking about, what it is to be a stay-at-home mom, what tools are out there, what resources. We're all multidimensional. We need different things at different times.
Mm-hmm.
You may be ready to go back to work. You might not be ready to go back to work for 5 more years. And when you go back, you might find a job that's 8 hours a week. It might not be the definition of corporate America,
Mm-hmm.
but it's okay. We just can't be focused on labels. We just have to do what's right for each of us, and it's okay. So you guys are doing awesome. And it's such an amazing resource that you've created here. So thank you so much for doing that.
Oh, well, thank
Thank
you.
you.
I feel like we're the question and you're the answer. Like,
Yes.
I feel like we're both, those are the places we're playing in the world. But I think our
Yes.
missions are so aligned. So we're so
Yes.
grateful to know more about you and for everything that you are doing for women. It's amazing. I know. Okay. Are you ready for Look, Listen, Learn, Missy?
I think we're ready. Yeah.
Okay. For anybody who is new to the show, welcome. We're so glad you're here. Our Look, Listen, Learn is a segment where we just talk about some things that we're reading or learning about or watching on TV, binging. And so we can share it with maybe some listeners who might be in a rut and need a little something new to do. So we do not like to put our guests in the hot seat. So,
No.
Missy, do you want to start with your Look, Listen, Learns for the week?
Sure. So I just finished reading Good for You by Camille Pagan. I love Camille. I talk about her like she's a friend. I follow her on the socials, and she is such a generous writer and shares a lot of information about writing. And I just love her, and I really enjoy her books as well. So Good for You is her new one, and it was super fun. It's a great kind of beachy read, vacation read. Fantastic. So I highly recommend that. And then I'm always talking about needing new music. And I say this like I discovered, it's been there forever, I'm sure, that Spotify has happy mixes. And it's so great because sometimes when I play just the new music mix, it's not all for me. But if I play the happy mix, for one, I get some new stuff and it's usually peppy and makes me happy.
Uh-huh.
But also they throw some old stuff in there too. So I'm getting the new, but still getting my old. I can still dance around the kitchen to Cyndi Lauper at 1 minute and then learn a new song the next minute. And so highly recommend. They have multiple happy mixes. They have a happy morning mix, which works all day, by the way. So
They cut you off at lunchtime.
yeah, you don't have to just listen to it in the morning, but highly recommend all the happy mixes on Spotify. And then my learn, I don't know if it's a learn or a question or just a comment. I've been a little feisty this week. I think it's just the return to real life from vacation, like kind of cranky, kind of feisty, fussy, as Suzanne might say.
Yes, fussy.
But the TikTok hearing happened yesterday where our government grilled the CEO of TikTok, and it was infuriating. I didn't watch all of it because no one has that kind of time, I don't think, if it's not their job to watch all of it. But whether or not TikTok goes away is kind of here nor there to me. Yes, I do enjoy it, but if it goes, it goes. But what got me about the hearings is that the questions were just ridiculously over the top stupid for the most part.
Mm.
And so I like I said, I don't know if I learned anything. I think I'm just furious that bipartisanly, our government is like, yes, TikTok is terrible. And this is what we're going to have a bipartisan agreement on when there is so much big stuff happening in the world. We cannot have an agreement on guns or sex ed or any of the really important things going on. But we're going to come together and ask the CEO some of the dumbest questions I've ever heard. It was basically like, do you know how my printer works? Do
I'm
you know
glad
where
I
my
missed
Wi-Fi
it.
is? Like really, really dumb questions. There were some good ones. They weren't all dumb. There were some good ones. But anyway, I'm just fired up. So I think my learn is that I don't even know. I need to dive a little more into
Do better
how this,
politicians.
yes, how this process works and how are politicians preparing for these kinds of hearings and what can we as people do to make it better? Because
Vote.
man, it was dumb. So
Vote.
anyway, that's my tirade for this week. And we will continue to watch and see what happens to TikTok, although the consensus is probably that some banning is coming our way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Guns
good.
fine.
Good,
TikTok
because I
bad.
still haven't figured out how to post a TikTok that's
Yeah, no,
that's
me either.
not-
Like I still don't get it really, and that's fine. Me and all the Congress people, I get it more than they do. But I just, yeah, it's just
Okay.
infuriating. This is what we're gonna combine forces on.
Oh, I missed it because I was prepping for
Yeah, you were doing important
gala stuff,
things.
but I'll follow up today.
Anyway,
But
so
I'm
that's
back.
my look, listen, learn. How about you, Addie? What you got going on this week?
Okay, well, I also just came back from vacation, long overdue, and was absolutely fabulous every moment of it. Although it's now been 2 weeks and it feels like it was like 8 months ago.
Yes.
But I read an amazing book called Who is Maud Dixon?
Ooh.
I don't know if you've heard of it.
Uh-uh.
No, I don't know it.
A little bit of a whodunit. I read the whole thing in one day. And
Oh.
I never have an opportunity to really do something like that. We talk about binge. It had a lot of female characters and it was really amazing. So I would recommend that highly to anyone who's looking for a little bit of an escape read. It's kind of on the theme of the talented Mr. Ripley.
Oh, I
yeah.
love
Okay.
that. Okay.
So I would say that's like a huge recommendation. Another book that a friend of mine just published, and I just think it's an important message overall. And I happen to have it here because I bought it on Amazon to help her in the pre-sales process.
Oh, we
Awesome.
love the pre-sales.
Yes,
Support
pre-order your books.
authors.
It's called Rising Together.
Okay.
And it says how we can bridge divides and create a more inclusive workplace. I
Oh,
spent a
love
lot
it.
of my time on this topic, and it's really talks a little bit about what I touched on, bias, don't label, find your strengths, go after them. And how do you work together? How do we all make each other look better together? And so I think that that's definitely the whole theme of Aurora. That's our return to work programs are all about, going back in groups so that you're not on your own. I feel like that we women have to band together and help each other
Mm.
accomplish more together. And so that's that. And then in terms of questions, I guess the thing that I'm really worried about as an entrepreneur is this whole issue of banks and
Mm.
security and where we are with
Yeah.
the future and how people can feel confident where their money is.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the last thing is the school shootings. It's just gotten to the point
Yeah.
where everybody's numbed by the latest school shooting.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't have any words to say
No.
except for if we can't, as parents, feel good, comfortable, and confident that we're like dropping our kids off and they're safe.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't feel that at
No.
all.
We live in Texas, which I know no one is safe anywhere, but
But it feels real unsafe.
it feels unsafe, and it also feels like they're actively working against us trying to keep them safe. And
Yeah.
our legislature is in session, and they have spent all of their time trying to ban books
Mhm.
and trying to make it so trans kids can't feel safe in the world. And there are just so many important issues, and why are we talking about these
Right.
things in
Right.
a negative way, at least? So yeah, it's infuriating.
Infuriating, putting it
Vote,
mildly.
vote, y'all, vote, y'all. I feel like every episode there's a We'll get
Yes,
on our
please vote.
soapbox. Vote. Okay, all very important things, and I'm adding that book to my list because I just finished a
Yes,
book.
thank
Oh,
you.
awesome. So,
Yeah, what are your look, listen, learn, Suzanne?
okay, so I have been reading because my friend Allison her favorite author is Ellen Hildebrand, who I'd
Oh,
never
I love
heard of.
Ellen. Yes.
Oh, really? I never heard of her. And she recommended starting with 28 Summers, which
It's on my shelf right now. I haven't
oh,
started it
is
yet.
it? Okay, so I
Mhm.
am oh shoot, I'm on part 17 of 17. That's the danger of an audiobook. Like all of a sudden it'll just be done. It'll be like, thank you for coming to Audible. And I'll be like,
This has
ah,
been an
I
Audible
didn't know we
production.
were ending. So yes, it's kind of a same time every year relationship thing
Mhm.
of a man and a woman who every
Yeah.
summer over Labor Day weekend, no matter if they're married or not, apparently. So that part, my suspension of disbelief or my suspension of my core values is having a hard time with that because my number one core value is like honesty and fidelity in relationships. I'm like, "Rrr." But
Just a
it's
little
fun.
escape.
But yes, it is fun, and it's such a departure from the normal type of books that I read, so it's just very fun. I'm enjoying that, and I guess I can tell you that I enjoyed it because since I am pretty much the end.
Yeah.
And what am I? Oh, Ted Lasso's back. Well, it's been back a couple of weeks, but I haven't talked to you for a while. So
Yeah.
I'm excited about that. I went to go look for the Jenny's ice cream, the Ted Lasso flavor, and I could not find it at the grocery store. So I think
And you don't have a Jenny's employee anymore.
I know. My daughter used to work at Jenny's ice cream, which was amazing because every time I would pick her up from work, she would bring me a couple scoops of my favorite ooey gooey butter cake. But I'm excited. We'll have to go to the actual shop, I think, to go get some. Maybe she can work me a deal there. And let's see. I don't know if I'm learning anything. My daughter, any listener who's been listening for more than one episode knows my daughter's waiting on a bunch of college answers for her application. So my brain is just 100% preoccupied. Two more schools released today. Syracuse and William and Mary released today. So we'll find out. My
Yeah.
heart still is with RIT. I mean, they talk about loving the school that loves your kid, and they've loved my kid so nicely. And
Yeah.
I know that shouldn't be the deciding factor. It's like who treats me nice, they can be my friend. But I'm loving them still. So we will see. It's in the next 2 weeks. Hopefully, I'll stop talking about. Well, I'll still be talking about it. Then I'll be like, "What should
Sure
I
you
buy
will.
for the dorm?" Um, but yes, so that I'm just learning. And you know what else I'm learning? People just need to chill out in these Facebook groups they have for parents, like preparing for college and that type of stuff. I don't know if it's just because everybody's feeling as antsy and as fussy as I am. Just it puts you on edge. But man,
Yeah.
people are mean to each other in those groups, and I don't dare ask a question.
It
I
does all work. It does all work out if you want a little perspective.
thank you. I need to hear that.
I do think that people thrive in different kinds of environments, and there are a lot of places your child can thrive. And I think at times parents have a single vision of like,
Mm-hmm.
or their child has a single vision of what will make them happy. And
Right.
lots of different places can kind of solve for that. And
Yes.
it's really the people that you meet and taking advantage of the opportunities that are there. You really just want them to sort of grow and blossom and can't just be hung up on other
Yeah. This
outside
one place.
factors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what it is for the moms of us who are in this ReacHIRE target audience is, I mean, we're putting our garbage on our kids as far as like the questions that I have about, career decisions I've made, or should I have done this path or another path, or what am I going to do for this
Right.
next stage of my life? And like, so
They got to make their own garbage.
yeah, I am proactively trying to make sure that I'm not dumping that on her, but it means
Mhm.
then I just like am in a black hole of it myself all day while she's at school. So it's a real healthy way to be. But
Everybody has to live their own life, right? You can't live your
yeah.
child's life and your child can't live your life.
No. So that's why I need to refunnel that energy into my retire mode as far as like putting that much energy and concern about her future into my own future. And I think that that's probably a lesson we can carry forward to a lot of our
That's a
listeners
good learn.
too. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my learn. I learned something this week. Well, oh my gosh,
Oh, thank you, Addie.
this has been so amazing.
Where were you guys when I was going through and trying to figure out what to do and if I should stay at home or go back to work or,
Oh,
like
that's
I
a whole
ended
nother
up-
episode.
I ended up on maternity leave starting a company. Like, what was I thinking? That
But look
wasn't
where you are
really-
now. It all worked. It all worked
Well,
out.
we're still on our journey, okay?
That's right.
I'm glad that all of us are here now for anybody else
Mm.
who's listening and going through it so we can save
Yes.
them from having to deal with it. Yes.
Absolutely.
Our struggle can be used for your benefit.
That's right.
I'm all about helping anybody
Exactly.
to get to where they want to go, wherever it is. And, we all can't for our children, for ourselves. We just have to be open-minded about where that journey will take us and
Mhm.
what is the next step. And what is good today may not be exactly the right fit for 2 years from now or 3 years
Yep.
from now or even 6 months from now. So
Like you said, who has a plan? Like it's just taking it that next right step.
Right.
we're all in this together.
Yes,
right.
That's for
That's right.
sure. Well, thank you so much for all you do. I'm so
Yes.
grateful to learn about you and all the work that you're doing. You're changing lives.
Yep.
It's amazing. So thank
love it.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you too. Thank you for the opportunity. And it was just really a pleasure to meet you both. And anything I can do to help further support your mission, please let me know.
Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
same. Thank you.
Have a wonderful Friday.
Thank you.
Oh my God, it's Friday.
Bye. It's Friday.
All right.
Not as you're listening to this, but as we recorded it, it was a Friday.
All right. You have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us for the Mom and ... podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's show, and if you know someone else who could benefit from the episode, please be sure and share it with them. And while we're begging, please subscribe and rate us wherever it is you listen to podcasts. You can find links to all the things we discussed today in our show notes or over at our website, momandpodcast.com, with the A-N-D spelled out. In between shows, find us over at the socials, including our private Mom and Community Facebook group. The links to that group and all of our socials can be found at momandpodcast.com. Thank you so much for your support. We appreciate you more than you know. Now go out there and make your ellipses count.